Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So today I wanted to share with you a review of the new Colourpop No Filter Foundation, No Filter Setting Powder, and No Filter Pressed Powder. So if you guys want to know my thoughts about all of the new Colourpop complexion products, then just keep on watching. So before I show you guys how I applied all of the products today, getting into just a couple claims about the foundation and a little bit more about it. So the No Filter Foundation retails for $12 on the Colourpop website. It comes in 42 shades, which is awesome, and it has a ton of different undertones. The shade that I'm wearing and the only one that I purchased is medium 80, and I think it's a really good match. It's just like slightly dark, but I definitely wanted that because all my foundations right now are kind of too light for me for summer, and I'm going to Vegas in like 2 days, so it will match me perfectly by the end of this week. So that is the shade that I ended up picking up, and it actually is supposed to be a full coverage matte foundation. It's supposed to have like a natural matte finish. It's very lightweight. Its claim is to be lightweight, and it definitely does not feel heavy on your skin at all. And this foundation also claims to have soft blurring pigments that are supposed to give your skin like a filter effect. That is basically the whole name and premise of it, just to give you more of a just flawless look. It's supposed to be more of a buildable coverage too. And one thing that I do not like just right off the bat with the packaging, and I have been wearing this foundation for a couple days, so I have a couple different thoughts about it just from wearing and the application and everything. But I did see a lot of people review this when they got it as PR, and I was assuming that just their packages didn't come with a cap and we would all get caps if you bought it. But no, it does not come with a cap, and I just feel like it looks a little bit unfinished without the cap. So that just like annoys me a little bit, but not enough to really like bother me more than a couple days. So that's just one thing to keep in mind, because it does get pretty messy. The pump, you can lock it, but I'm not going to be traveling with this foundation in the next couple weeks that I'm going to be traveling, because it just is a little bit messy and paranoid that it will end up spilling everywhere. So that's just one thing. And then you do also get 0.85 of an ounce of product in here, so a little bit less than an ounce, which is normally what you get in a regular full-size foundation. And then just jumping into the powders real quick, I have the No Filter Setting Powder, which is actually like a pretty small package, which is a translucent powder. They also have a banana powder and a deeper shade of their loose powder. This is $9. And then also their No Filter Sheer Pressed Powder comes in this packaging. It's kind of small, but it's pretty sleek and compact, and it does also have a mirror to it. I got mine in the shade medium, and this comes in 6 different shades. So I'm gonna go ahead and jump into the demo so you guys can see how I applied the foundation today, how I like to apply it, and just all of my thoughts about the foundation and how it goes on. All right, so for primer, I'm gonna start off with the Smashbox Primerizer, just like a really lightweight, hydrating primer. I'm just gonna apply like 1.5 pumps of this all over. So I'm just gonna use like a regular flat foundation brush. I like to use this kind of brush just for application, and then I'm gonna finish it off with a beauty blender. And I just went in with 2 pumps on my brush. I'm gonna do one side of my face first, and then the other half so you guys can see the coverage. And you can see the undertone of this shade looks really, really yellow. So like I have a very warm complexion, so it works well for me, but just be aware of that some of the undertones, or at least the one that I got, and just seeing swatches, they looked pretty warm. All right, so coverage wise so far, you can see it's pretty good coverage. It's like a medium to full coverage. I wouldn't layer any more on. I don't really like to layer on foundation. If I want full coverage, I'm just gonna go with something that's 1 layer, super full coverage. I'm just gonna apply the same amount to the other side. And I would assume that if I were to just buff this out with a brush, like you can see that's already like way more coverage. I just never ever not use a beauty blender with my foundation. I never ever like the look of just a brush alone. I like the combination the best. So that is what it looks like with 1 coat. I mean, that's how much foundation I would apply normally. I'm gonna go in with a little bit more between my eyebrows. I found yesterday when I was wearing this, just after a couple hours, that's where it started to fade. And that's usually where I get like a tiny bit of texture. That's like the first place that my foundation fades anyways, and my nose. So I'm gonna check in a couple of hours after I apply the rest of my makeup so we could see how it held up in those areas. So I definitely like this finish so far. It looks like very glowy and luminous before I set it. It definitely does not dry down right away. I'm just gonna go ahead and zoom you guys in before I do powder and everything so you can see just the foundation on its own and like the coverage really close up. All right, so zoomed in, you might be able to tell like a little bit on my nose. It's not really sticking there, so I'm just gonna apply a tiny bit more. And I usually apply concealer on my nose too. I'm going over that area one more time for the last time, and if it doesn't hold up, then it doesn't hold up. It's also not super perfect right on the outside of my nose, but that's usually the case with like 90% of the foundations I use, especially before I set them with powder or anything. So that is expected, but just like on my nose and right in my forehead, it's hard to get a little bit of coverage, but other than that, like it's not settling in any lines. All right, so I've had this foundation on for about like 8 or 10 minutes before I've even set it, and you definitely need to powder this down. I powder all of my foundations. I powder my face with basically any foundation that I use, but sometimes if a foundation's a little bit more matte, I can use like a tiny bit of powder and I'm good to go. This feels like I just applied it 2 seconds ago, like it's still very tacky, so it's definitely gonna need to be set with powder for sure. And I of course did want to use the no filter concealer. I only have a shade that's way too light. It's the shade number 16, so I only end up using this shade to do like a cut crease or just kind of some primer for my eyes, because I can't use that under my eyes. I tried to buy a new concealer when I bought the foundation, but it was like a combination of me freaking out, trying to order everything before it sold out, and it didn't even sell out, I don't think. But I was just trying to order everything as quickly as possible, and it looked like it was sold out at the time, my concealer shade. So long story short, I didn't end up buying a concealer, but I do have new concealers that I will be reviewing for you guys in the next couple days. These are the new Too Faced Multi-Use Sculpting Concealers, and this is a full coverage concealer, so I'm only going to use this under my eyes and as eyeshadow primer. And I really want to put that concealer on my nose right now because the coverage is so nice, and I don't like the redness peeking through, but I'm going to leave it as is just to see how the foundation breaks down throughout the day, or where it does break down, because that's where I was having that issue. But let's go in with the No Filter Loose Setting Powder. So this is $9. It comes in 3 shades, a translucent powder, a banana shade, and a dark shade. This powder is tiny. So here's a comparison to my Too Faced Born This Way. Like, it is very small. So it is a lot smaller, and you get 0.30 of an ounce in here. Compared to the Too Faced Born This Way, this is 0.56, so it's almost double in this compared to this. So the claims on this powder are that it's a weightless matte finish, not cakey, and yeah, it's like definitely a matte finish. I can tell you for sure, I like this so much better than the RCMA No Color powder. And this is kind of around the same price point. That comes with a ton of product, but if you're trying to not spend like more than $10, $12 on a powder, definitely, just in a couple days of using this, I like it so much better than the RCMA powder. And then we have the sheer pressed powder. So I got it in the shade medium. This is also $9, and it comes in 6 shades. The shade medium is like a weird kind of pinky beige tone. It's a little bit light for what I thought the medium powder would be. And this is incredibly sheer. Like, let me swatch it for you guys. Like, it basically just turns into nothing. Like, I could layer it on, and it is a sheer powder, but it's like so sheer that it's almost like a translucent powder. This powder I would just not recommend. Like, every time I put it on, I like keep putting it on and I'm like, is anything even happening? So really, it's not like it makes my makeup look bad at all, definitely not, but it doesn't add anything. So this is just kind of like an extra step that didn't affect my makeup. All right, so that is all of my makeup so far. The translucent powder is definitely awesome. It gives you like a really nice matte finish without feeling drying or heavy at all. I've been really surprised with that powder. I'm gonna have this on for the rest of the day. I'm gonna go ahead and apply the rest of my makeup, and then I'll follow up with you guys and let you know how my foundation wore throughout the rest of the day. All right, so it's been a little bit over 8 hours now, and I wanted to give you guys a check-in with this foundation because I was finding that it was wearing a little bit odd on me yesterday, just the way that it wore down. Like, there were some things that I really liked about it, and then it just like kind of broke out in certain areas. Not broke out, but like started to fade a bit in certain areas. So I wanted to see how it would wear again today. This is the third day that I'm wearing it. And usually I could tell how a foundation is gonna wear and how like impressive it is with its staying powder from me just like going outside and living my life and everything. And this one, it looks good. Like it actually still looks really good. But even before I left my house a couple hours ago, I really wanted to touch up my forehead or like blot or just add a little bit extra powder for sure. Just because it's getting like a little bit shiny. It doesn't look like oily, but just like a little shiny. And then also like I have a breakout right here that it didn't cover. I felt like it covered it when I first put on my foundation, but it just like faded a bit in that area. So I don't think that this would do really great with texture, because especially this area right here, yesterday that's where like all the foundation came off. Today you guys saw me like go back in and apply like a second layer of foundation right in this area, so it's staying on so much better, but it still isn't like the most flawless finish right there. And then now I have like no foundation on my nose. I don't know if you guys can see that like super clearly. Like there's really no foundation whatsoever in this area, and that usually doesn't happen. All right, so just giving you guys my final thoughts after wearing it for a couple days and also really actually putting it to the test today by like going out and about and being in the heat and stuff like that. And you could probably see a little bit clearer now, like how it's breaking up on my nose and just like a little bit of shininess going up on my forehead. But then the rest of my makeup, I feel like it looks so good. Like all of my skin looks really good. So it's just kind of really unfortunate that it is kind of breaking up in this area and just getting a little bit too dewy around my forehead. I will say that normally I do apply a mattifying foundation on the center of my face, like just right in my T-zone really lightly, and I usually also apply concealer on my nose and a little bit on my forehead, not anything crazy, but just like a little bit. And if I did those two steps, it would probably hold up a little bit better for sure. So that's one thing to keep in mind too, that I really just used this as my only coverage except for under my eyes. So overall, I really do like the finish. I still think just looking like in my reflection right now, I think it looks really great. I feel like it still looks like skin, but I'm also just missing a little bit of foundation on my face, which is not normal, and I look way more oily than really I ever do with any other foundation, even wearing other foundations even longer than this one. So those are all my thoughts about the new Colourpop complexion products. Let me know if you guys have tried them out in the comments down below. Let me know what you picked up and your thoughts about them. And if you guys like this video, make sure you give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. And I'll talk to you guys soon in my next video. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.